Well, welcome everyone to Connect Group. I want to start off by saying congratulations for choosing connection. I know that sometimes getting things done in the evening throughout the week can be difficult with our schedules, and choosing to spend that time with a group of people, sometimes with strangers, and talking about things that are deep in our hearts and in our thoughts can be difficult. So I want to say congratulations for making the choice to do that. To our leaders and our hosts of Connect Group, it's because of you that we're able to make nights like tonight happen. So I want to say thank you so much for choosing to say yes to serving God, to saying yes to serving your local church. We have just finished our message series called Heartbeat. So if you weren't there on Sunday or haven't been able to catch up with the podcast, then I want to give you a little bit of a sense of what we talked about. Of course, we always recommend coming out on Sundays at 10 if you can. And if not, our podcasts are a great way to catch up and be on the same page with us as a community so we can be moving forward together with one voice, with one heart. So I want to give you a quick little synopsis, I guess, of what happened on Sunday. We talked through something that we believe deeply in here at the heart. Something that burns in my heart is it's something called, or that we have called, framework. Now, a framework is 5 different kind of areas or concepts that we believe make up our relationship with God. So if there's different ways in our life or different parts of our life that help to grow our relationship with God, we believe that they boil down to these 5 things. It's reading the Bible, getting to know God that way, praying to God, communicating with Him through prayer, serving the local church, but also serving the people around us, no matter who they happen to be. So you got read, pray, serve, giving financially to the church, the local church, and when you give, that giving room in your heart for God to work, for God to move, for God to bless you, and of course, worshiping. And I would dare say that all 4 of those dig into the 5th one, worshiping. We worship God in all of those different ways. So that's what we talked about on Sunday, and what I want to be able to do is take some time talking about this framework, these 5 different things. Now, what's important is these 5 things of read, pray, serve, give, worship are not simply things that you should have all of these, right? It's important to look at all these things and see that they are a journey, that there is a journey of reading. Some of us read the Bible every day and can understand things that it says, and some of us are intimidated to even open it. Some of us can read 1 scripture a day, and that's enough. And that's part of what I'm talking about, is read, pray, serve, give, worship, letting yourself be on a journey with all 5 of those. Maybe you're great at serving, but you're not good at giving. Maybe you're fantastic at worshiping. You raise your hands. You love to worship God. You're always thanking Him for everything He's done, but sometimes you forget to pray when things get difficult. We're at different parts of the journey on all 5 of those things. So what I want to be able to do is talk through those things, have some questions around those, and really dig into that. So I want to say, just for clarity's sake, there's again the 5 different parts of our framework are reading the Bible, praying to God, serving, giving, and worshiping. And we believe it's these 5 things, through these 5 different ways, that we grow our relationship with God. So with those 5 bits of framework in mind, with those 5 things in mind, I want to get to tonight's first question. And the first question I want you to think about is, of those 5 things, reading, praying, serving, giving, and worshiping, which one of those 5 do you feel like you are the best at? So which one do you think, man, I really am great at this one? And then on the inverse side of that, I want you to think through, what is the one I have the most difficult time with, right? So let's say you're great at serving, but giving, it's tough for you to give up your money. It's tough for you to give to the church. It's tough for you to give at all. Then I want you to be free to kind of talk through that. So on one side, what is something that is the easiest for you? What part of framework is the easiest for you? And on the other side, what part of framework is the most difficult for you? So why don't you guys take some time to discuss that this evening? Okay, great. Thanks so much for taking the time to discuss that. Hopefully you guys had a great discussion. Obviously, I want to encourage you to share as deep as you're comfortable with. The more you share from your heart and some of your deepest thoughts, the better that you make all of us, right? We all grow when we can share these things together. So I want to go ahead and get to tonight's second question, and it's going to dig a little bit deeper into our relationship with God and the framework that we can use to build that relationship. Now, some of us are on different parts of our journey, right? That's what we're all about here at The Heart, is being on different parts of your journey. And what I want to be able to talk about tonight, what I want you guys to take some time to discuss in this second question is, what have the roadblocks been in your life that have kept you from really growing your relationship? Right? In the different parts of framework, whether as a whole or different parts, what I want you guys to discuss are, what are some of the things that have come up in your life that have been roadblocks in building your relationship with God, that have been roadblocks that have shaken your framework, if you will, right? That have shaken your foundation of faith in any of the 5 areas or in all the 5 areas. So let's take some time to discuss the roadblocks in our life that have shaken our framework and have kept us from pursuing our relationship with God. I want you guys to take some time to discuss. All right, great. I hope you guys had a good discussion there. I know that, especially when it comes to these types of questions, when we're looking back on our past and things that have potentially hurt us or have been difficult for us to process, I just want to say that I appreciate it so much for those of you who take the time to really dig into that and really bring that up to the surface. I mean, that's the greatest way to heal. You know, I tell people sometimes that when they need healing for things, the best way to do that is to bring those things up, to talk about those things, because when you have this thing that's growing in the darkness, this thing that you're hiding from everybody, that negativity, that anger, that hate, whatever it happens to be, it grows in the darkness. So when we bring it out to the light, it exposes that and gives it a chance to heal. So I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do that and for being brave, being courageous enough to talk about those things. So for our last question for tonight, what we love to do here in Connect Groups is to be thinking forward, right? To take what we learn and what we talk about and how we grow and be able to apply that to our everyday life, apply that into our life, and how can we get better with what we have learned, not just get smarter. And so what I want to do is thinking forward and thinking of, in the concept of framework, right, of reading, praying, giving, serving, and worshiping. Within that context, what is the next step that you need to take in your journey? And if you want to talk about just one of those, let's say the easiest one for you to do is praying, and the most difficult one for you to do is serve. What is the next step that you need to take in terms of praying and also in terms of serving, in terms of giving and in terms of reading the Bible? Maybe when it comes to reading the Bible, you can't necessarily read a chapter a day. That's a big bite to chew. Then don't make that your next step. Set yourself up for success. Let this be a journey. And if the next step for you is you choose a Bible reading plan that gives you 1 verse a day, hey, that's a great next step. If your next step needs to be, you're just going to pray the Lord's Prayer because that's an easy one that you can remember and you knew it growing up maybe, then let that be your next step. That's what I want you to do, is really dig deep and ask yourself and tell yourself, and then if you're brave enough, tell us, is what is the next step that you need to take when it comes to framework? And the easiest thing that comes to your mind when it comes to framework, and the most difficult thing is, what is the next step that you need to take?